that the president-elect is from the southwest, Lagos, and the vice president-elect is from the northeastern region, Borno State, Kashim Shettima. So where will the Senate president come from? What zoning arrangement? Because that is the next one in terms of the balancing of power. The Speaker of the House of Reps, where will it come from? There are those who believe that the other regions have to have all of these, but with what we're seeing on the ground, it looks so much that a lot of politicking will be happening. But in the Senate, these are the numbers that we know as of now. Out of the 109 seats, this is what we know, the political parties and the seats that have been taken so far. 102, the rest have not been confirmed. And in the House of Reps, out of the 360 seats, these are the numbers of seats and the political parties that have been able to hold on to them, as we know for now. Now, let's look at the faces or the names of those whose names have been thrown up in this ambition. In the in the Senate, for example, we are hearing Ojo Zokali, he said that it is his turn. Senator Jibrin Baraudi, perhaps the only senator from Kano State in the 10th National Assembly. Senator Sani Musa, 313 from Niger State. Senator Goswi Akpabio, a former governor from Kwabam State in the South region. Senator Dave Umahi from Ebonyi State, Southeast Nigeria. Senator Osita Uzunaso, returning a ranking. He will be a ranking senator if he returns now from Imo State. Senator Ahmad Lawan, his name was the latest to be thrown. He's a sitting Senate president. Could it be that he wants again to run for Senate president? Let's look at what is happening in the House of Reps. Benjamin Kalu, his name has been thrown up to wanting to be the speaker. He's from Imo State, from Abia State, and he's the spokesperson of the House of Reps. Honorable Tajuddin Abbas, Honorable Aliyu Batara, and a 42-year-old Yusuf Gadi. These are the names that have been thrown up. Let's get to talk about all of this. I have joining me tonight a professor of from the University of Ibadan, expert in strategic communication and development, Professor Kuta Yaya. Thank you so much, Prof, for joining us tonight.
It's a pleasure to join you, Sean.
And I have a ranking honorable member, Akin Alabi. Thank you so much. He's a member of the APC from Oyo State. Thank you so much indeed.
My pleasure.
What is going on? First, let me begin with you, because you are in the National Assembly.
Yeah.
What do you think your party might be thinking about in terms of zoning? You had your fingers burnt as a political party in 2015 at that meeting, and which things really boomerang, and it didn't go the way of the party. It was the candidates that the party did not want, yeah. I mean, in court, yeah. that emerged as the candidate. So what is going on right now?
Well, right now, we all agree we must go into the leadership election as a united front. So right now, we're all waiting for the guidance, direction of the leadership of the majority party, our party, the All Progressives Congress. Because you've said it, if we are not united, things have happened in the past. We don't want it to be a free-for-all fight. We don't want it to be what the Australians call it Donnybrook, just a melee. It's going to be a mess. So we have to go into the House, into the election on that day in June as a united front. Now, you've talked about where the president comes from, the Southwest. Definitely, so no one will expect the Senate president to come from the Southwest. No one will expect the speaker to come from the Southwest. Those of us that, it's not that we don't have credible people from the Southwest. We've got quality people. We've got quality people in the Senate that is ranking members from the Southwest as well. So definitely we're not going to be going to that route. Now, for some people,
sorry, apology. Yeah. So what you're saying is that Southwest and Northeast, we should rule out Senate presidency and the speaker.
Well, I'll start with the Southwest because that's the president. That's the most important. That's the biggest.
But you also have the Northeast also.
Yes, so it has the, for balance, yeah. for spread, it will be important for other zones to have a taste of leadership. And for those that will say, you should be talking about competence and not just zoning. The truth of the matter is that there are competent people in every sector, every spread across the 6 geopolitical zones of the country. So we need balance, so leadership must go to the other parts of the country.
One thing, Prof, that is also in the play, I mean, I don't know if you agree with what the Honorable said about how things should go.
Well, let me appreciate the Honorable for that considerations. But if you look at the entire political space, you will agree with me that the National Assembly, one arm of government that is very critical for our democracy. Because if you look at the executive, outside the president and the vice president that are elected by the majority of the citizens, the rest are appointed based on the constitutional power granted to Mr. President to nominate people to serve across the 36 states and the FCT. But the National Assembly, they all have to go through the rigors of election process, from primaries through the final election to the National Assembly. So it's not a tea party, it's a serious business. So for that level, that means the entire citizenry that participated in the election were part of their election into the National Assembly. So they will be representing a whole lot of people. So it's a serious business. So every zone, every sector is looking up to somebody that will represent their interests, especially at the leadership level.
So zoning matters.
Very critical.
Very important.
So talking about zoning is also the balance of
interest.
Religion. Interest and religion also, because this I've heard from members of the APC that, look, since your party, the APC, had gone in the way of a Muslim ticket, then it puts your party in a very difficult situation to consider leadership of the National Assembly from the same religion. Is that a consideration also?
Because it's definitely going to be a consideration. We had it for the presidential election, Muslim ticket. But I'm not sure we want to stretch it to have the number 3 man as a Muslim as well. And that will put, like a zone like the Northwest that did brilliantly for our party during the elections. I think we got the highest number of votes, the APC, from the Northwest. Even though I think...
Not central. If you look at the differentials. The highest
difference, I think, I'm talking about the votes,
in terms of
the numbers,
not the differentials.
Yeah. Right. So the numbers, they gave us the highest number of votes. So they deserve something in this government. So if the president is coming from the Southwest and the vice is coming from the Northeast, then the Northwest will say we want the number 3 slot. Then you have to ask yourself, Muslim. We understand that when we're selecting the running mate when the president-elect was selecting his running mate, there were considerations like he's a Muslim from Islam is the minority in the South. Then if he chooses a Christian running mate, that's minority in the North. So it might be a bit not a strong ticket. So we went for Muslim. So are we going to go for Muslim this time? And that might rule out the top guys from the Northwest, because they're Muslims in the Northwest, those that have already signified that list. I'm talking about the likes of Ali Wamako, Senator Jibrin Barao, the current appropriation chairman, and all quality people, no doubt about that. But if we're going to spread it, it has to go to the South, Christian South, and not Southwest, as I said. So it's got to be Southeast or South.
So Southeast or South. And if you look at, please, could you bring back the list that we had on the for those who are the ambition? So if you're saying that a difficult one for your party in terms of religion, which could rule people out, so we have Devu Mahi, Goswe Akpabio, Oju Zokalu, Osita Zuna. So invariably, on the basis of religion, the likes of Jibrin Barao, Sani Musa, and Ahmed Lawan, there might be a question mark. Do you agree, Prof?
Well, when you look at the sensibility of the entire political space and the need for inclusiveness, then you begin to wonder why we should not be sensitive to other interests, especially given the fact that a lot of concerns were raised during the elections, pre-elections, after the Muslim ticket emerged, and that led to some reactions and counter actions by other actors in the electoral space. So if we have to consider inclusiveness, we should begin to look at that considerably. But these people, they also have their own right to contest, because they are elected to represent their people, and by virtue of the Constitution and the rules, I don't think there is any provision that will stop them from contesting. That is one. But if you want to be considerate, based on the need for inclusiveness, you might begin to consider that.
So for the Senate presidency, and I've heard some argument also in the line that Northwest, yeah, although your party lost in Kano, which would have been one that Kano would have, in fact, the likes of Adodogua has been nursing the idea of being a speaker before now, but his election is still hanging in the balance. But North Central have also pitched a very strong argument that they've always been neglected in the scheme of things. The last time you had an opportunity in the North Central was when Bukola Saraki became Senate President. And so when those who are pushing for someone like Sani Musa in the North Central region of the country, how strong is that push and that pitch?
Well, Senator Sani Musa, coincidentally, is from my state, and I've known him very well for a very long time. And if you look at his antecedents, you will know that he's one of those Nigerians that you can look up to for serious leadership challenge like that, because number one, he's a very brilliant and educated individual. You can attest to that. And in his political involvement, he is not somebody who is a very ambitious person, but people are the one gravitating towards him. And I'm aware that in the current dispensation, his colleagues, both from his party, APC, and other parties are rooting for him to become Senate President, because in the position he had now...
is from your state.
He's from my state. We have worked together before, and that we have even attended some courses in the US, in Pittsburgh, in Harvard together, so I can attest to his, very amiable personality.
So the question is, politically speaking, does he have a chance? Will North Central be giving a Bible? He's the only one from the North Central on the bill at the moment.
Unfortunately, the North Central has always been a victim of political calculation in Nigeria. When the big boys, in quotes, think that they have some superior argument, they always look at North Central as a tool to be used, and after that election they abandoned. I think we can recall in the near past that North Central had always done very well in terms of contribution to the electoral process. Even in the recent past, in the entire contribution, you can say that North Central contributed more, but in the palace, where you look at the common people, they will say the minority or Hausa Bokwe, or just the Banza Bokwe, those are the kind of slangs that are derogatory, but I'm not trying to impugn it on them. But I think this is a chance for the North Central.
So, but again, you look at the Southeast and their plight in that region, and those who believe that from the days of the likes of Senator Ken Namani, I'm not sure if that's not the last time we saw a Southeastern and a Senate President of Igbo extraction. Pius Ayim also was a Senate President, and then afterwards we had former Senate President David Mark, and then Bukola Saraki and Ahmed Lawan now. But you look at the opportunity of servicing the interest of the Southeast, and that's where the likes of Osita Ozonaso, Dave Umahi, and Orji Uzakalu comes to play. Orji Uzakalu, for example, had gone to meet the president and said, "Look, Emiloko." And if you look at the run of play within it's just first among equals. That is how that election is usually very described. So it comes down to who has the political weight to pull it around the room, isn't it?
Well, it's also very important for you to look at some variables. What is the antecedents of individuals? And sentiments apart, politics is a game of number. And when sentiments begin to play, you discover you lose the mark. But I know for sure, people like Sani Musa, have read some of his press statements, he has always said that there's no desperation, anything that will bring about the unity of this country. If inclusiveness will be the answer, he will be willing to support anybody from the South who is a Christian, and he will, not mind to go for the deputy Senate president. And I think that is a very good commendation to consider that. But I also look at the references you have made in the past when the Southeast were majorly in the major party like the PDP. During the PDP era, Southeast was very prominent, and so. But now in this circumstance, you can see that they have assumed minority role in the central government. So
they didn't. There was no. Your party didn't win at all in any of the 5 states
at all.
In the south, not even in the south. Your party did not win any of the states. But let's take a break, Prof. and Honorable. We'll take a break. That when we come back, we'll look also what is going to happen in the House of Representatives. Who could be the Speaker? The choice of the APC, because at the end of the day, the party may come down to one thing: having to get one candidate each for this position into the arena in June. And who could this be? In all of the names that you have seen on your screen, we continue the analysis when we return from the break, everyone. Join us again. Thank you so much, everyone. Let's get back to the conversation. In fact, I'm understanding now that Honorable Sada Soli from Katsina, a 3-time member of the House of Representatives, is also interested in being Speaker. I understand that he's written to almost all the members of the House in showing his intention. He's getting rather interesting by the day, Honorable. That of the House of Representatives might see more intrigues, considering those who are now even saying that the opposition are wanting to snatch that seat.
Well, it's he said it earlier on. It's everybody's right. In the House, you've got to have legislative experience, meaning you've got to be a ranking member.
Is that the rule?
Yeah, you have to have legislative experience, but it could mean state legislative. It could mean you've been a member for maybe 6 months and maybe something happened, they need to change the speaker, but stated in our procedures in the House that you've got to have legislative experience.
But it doesn't state whether you must be in the majority party or minority party.
So that's just a
tradition.
But
it's conventional.
It's conventional. But it can happen if they bring themselves together. If you calculate the numbers of NNPP, Labour Party,
they have more numbers,
and the PDP,
they can determine it.
They can determine it.
Yeah.
But like I said, if we've got a united front, I can tell you for free that a couple of those parties too are with us, right? So if they're with us, then the opposition won't be able to form the majority.
So the voting formula is what? Is it highest number of votes or 2/3?
It is highest number, but it is 180 plus 1.
That you need to have before you can become.
So if you have three contestants and one gets 150 and the other gets 100 and the other gets whatever, there's going to be a rerun. The last person will drop out. We must have 180 plus 1, right? But after the rerun, then the majority will take it home.
So, I mean, what is the... give us an idea of the run of play right now. The
run of play is that, we were talking about the Senate earlier, right? And we said that because of the Muslim, Northwest is very key in the scheme of things, right? So if the party is not going to zone the Senate presidency to the Northwest, and it's probably zoned to the South, the Southern Christian, then the Northwest will ask, what's in it for us? So then all eyes will be on the speakership. So,
I mean, there is a school of thought that is thinking that let's South or the Southeast have it. And a Christian.
For the Senate presidency, yeah. But for speakership, the Northwest is going to ask you, wasn't it for us? And there's a strong possibility that it can go to the Northwest. But it's not up to me. It's up to the leaders of our party. Then we've got quality candidates from the Northwest. We've got Honorable Tajuddin Abbas, right? 3-term member, PhD holder, right? Current House Committee Chairman on Land Transport. We've got, you just mentioned Honorable Sada Soli.
Yeah.
You mentioned him. We've got Honorable, I think, Jaja too.
I've heard about Idris Wasa too.
Yeah, from North Central.
North Central.
Yeah. As the Deputy Speaker of the House, it's very natural to want to gun for the #1 job. That's very normal. So
a chance of forced refusal, maybe.
Sorry?
A chance of forced refusal, maybe.
Everything still boils down to zoning. So if we say Northwest, then the issue of forced refusal is not going to come.
Experience on one hand is the leadership capacity, because a house is has a possibility of more polarity because of the numbers and even in fact of the experience and the ages of the members. So there is a need for a leader that can unite the house, because the Senate, they see themselves as more senior members of the National Assembly, and they behave like that in some ways. I mean, no intention to, but that is what we're seeing over the time that has played out. But Prof, give us an understanding of, we have a president-elect as a former senator.
Yes.
A vice president-elect as sitting senator. So they are equally experienced
even
people.
First lady.
Even the first lady elect. She's a sitting senator. So in that sense, the National Assembly politics, I know if President Buhari has been described as someone who was not interested in the National Assembly politics, I'm not sure the Tinubu presidency
will definitely be interested.
He will be interested because he knows just how powerful the National Assembly is. What do you see happening? How much involvement do you see Tinubu and Shettima being in this politics?
Well, given my understanding of the two leaders, I know they are well-experienced people, very dogged, charismatic, and indeed strategic in every sense of the word. So I will say that given the significance of the National Assembly in recent time as a game changer in terms of our political system, based on what we experienced with the Electoral Act 2022, it brought a lot of sanity, even though it affected some members. Many people did not come back from the two chambers, so you can imagine that they were on patriotic front. So I'll be very confident that these two leaders will be very much interested, and they will be interested in bringing a kind of inclusiveness or balancing of interests, because the president-elect has said it clear that they will go for healing. And the healing process has started with engagement, with consultations, and this will assuage some other interests that are really aggrieved based on decisions or political exigencies that have happened over time. So I have no doubt in my mind that they will be interested, because they know the National Assembly, being critical mass in our political system, will drive their agenda based on quality bills that are likely going to come, and the oversight functions, that is their primary responsibility. And based on the fact that the National Assembly will also look forward to improving the quality of even the selection or the election process in terms of the lower level of even the primaries. I'm sure they have graduated from a very solid template that they have used for this 2023 election. I look forward for them to engage in more quality participation of the delegate system, and even in interfacing with the political structures to make sure that they enhance the quality at the lower level, so that good number of people who are interested in the political space can participate, instead of allowing people who don't have idea. Instead of monetization, they can begin to think about politics of development and reconstruction of our entire development space.
I mean, this also, interestingly, we're seeing just about almost 70% there's a huge turnover. About 70% of the members of the 10th National Assembly that won't be returning. I mean, members of the 9th National Assembly that won't be returning. We're saying out of 426 members elect right now, only 306 are new. I mean, about 306 are new lawmakers. While 120 are going to be from the old guard that are coming into the 10th National Assembly. For example, out of the 109 senators, 28 of them are returning. In the House of Reps, out of the 300
turnaround in
the House of Reps,
and that's a sad. Sad.
It's a major issue too, because there are a lot of inexperience that will come into the system.
It's very sad because Congress it's like a school where you need to develop over time, and it's the bedrock of democracy. Without Congress, you can as well have a military rule, because in the military rule there's the executive and there's the judiciary. So the difference between democracy and military rule is the fact that we've got a legislature. So stability in Congress, in the National Assembly, House of Representatives, is important for the growth of our democracy. If you look at the U.S. Congress, for example, the 117th Congress, I think that's 2021 to 2023, you know, this 2-year term in the United States. I think only 10 members did not return. That's over 90% returning.
So experience is important.
It strengthens democracy.
So could we see the naivety of the new members playing out in the election? Because it's the first day that most of them will be seeing themselves.
It can be a very volatile election, and that's why we need to go. That was the first thing I said. We need to go into that election as a united front. And we've been talking about different zones. For the House of Reps, we didn't mention the Southeast. If the Senate presidency goes to the South, then the Southeast is going to say what's in it for them, for the speakership as well. And we've got quality people in the Southeast as well. But if the Southeast gets the Senate presidency, then the Southeast will not ask for speakership in the House. Then the South will start asking. It's a bit dynamic and it could be volatile. That's why we must go in as a united front.
Honorable Soli added to the list. Idris Wese is another man that's name is missing on that list. Sada Soli from Katsina State. But the big question is on that day. Now we have, if you bring back the number of the House of Reps members and senators, you will see some activist lawmakers elect that will be coming, and that might also play a role. No, you have 34 Labour Party. Labour Party is an extension of the Labour. I mean, because its party is enshrined, and you see some of these people, they will bring some level of activism in the.
There's a lot of meetings going on already across party lines. Across party lines. Good meeting with. I met with quite a few Labour Party members yesterday. I've met with NNPP members, and there's going to be a lot of behind-the-scenes discussion. It's not everything that will happen. The election that will happen proper on the day, there's going to be a pre-election. There's going to be a lot of discussions behind this, a lot of agreements.
And will there be sleeping in the car park?
No, nobody will sleep. We're not going to have a problem. It's going to go smooth and easy.
All right, we've heard that many times over. But let's try to bring home the conversation now. And I'd like to ask, because this comes down to one thing. The President Buhari also might be involved partly in this. He may have bowed out. There are those who are saying that he should be the chairman of the board of trustees of your party. There are those who have said that if Buhari goes, there goes your party. Then your party is going to bite the dust. I mean, it's going to go into crisis. But now, we'll see the interplay of forces here. We have, it's going to be a new president, a new vice president. And so it's not like you have a president that is being re-elected. If you have something to tell the leadership of the party, you have a national chairman of the APC that lost the election in his home state. There's a whole lot of emotion that will play out in that time. If you have something to tell the APC on how to go about this, because the history of a failure of the political party in aligning before the election day, what would you be saying tonight?
No, I think based on my experience in citizens engagement, there is nothing that consultation cannot resolve. But the idea of backstabbing is the only thing that's going to cause the party a huge challenge. So if there is consultation, conceding and concessions, it will help a lot.
You think the president-elect and the vice president-elect should be authoritative? Do you think that it should be
the national chairman and national secretary, the national working committee?
The national working committee must be carried along with the members of the caucus of the National Assembly.
Let me ask, Honorable, if you are to tell your party something tonight about how this should go, what would you be telling them?
The first thing I would say is number 3 should not be a Muslim. It shouldn't be Muslim.
What about number 4?
So number 3 should come to down south. So I'm not going to say whether south, east, or south. Number 4, we leave it to the leaders.
That's where you belong.
And that means automatically the North Central will take the deputy Senate president, if that be the case, because we have become the abandoned zone for too long, and I think this is our time to make.
And I really think Northwest should have something good, something solid.
All right. Thanks, gentlemen, for bringing to bear your experience and your thoughts and your perspective in this conversation, which I know that it will generate a lot more conversation. Thanks so much. Honorable Akin Alabi, it's good to see you again. And a member of the APC from Oyo State in the House of Representatives, and he's going to be returning the 10th National Assembly. And Professor Kuta Yahya Muhammad, expert in strategic communication and development, a professor in the University of Ibadan. Thanks so much indeed for your time tonight.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.